Hello. We have a new podcast coming in. We have a very pretentious and ambitious title for it. So, podcast is about affect, mental health, and the commons. And we'd like to explore participatory pathways to collective learning and healing. So, in these episodes, we'll be exploring the intersection of mental health, grief, and participatory approaches to build collective well-being. And we'll ask ourselves, or I'll ask my dear guests, to reimagine mental health as a shared commons, where safe spaces, digital platforms, and community-led tools such as Decidim, or art-based methodologies such as legislative theater enable healing and inclusion through the lens of affect. Just to precise, we have a public, and I'd like the public also to join the conversation that bridges your personal struggles with community empowerment. So we just had a retreat called the Convergence of Commoners, where we brought together diverse groups of participants. I got lucky, I have some of them with me. But just to let you know who participated to these conversations, we had researchers and policymakers. We have researchers on this table. Addressing how commons can shape public institutions and systems. We had commons practitioners, which I would be part of, or one of our guests, David, could also be associated to that role. Working on the ground to foster mutual aid, care, and relational governance. We also had like the digital platforms innovators, artists and cultural producers, and speculative thinkers. We just heard some of them, and sci-fi enthusiasts. I guess the public is really like shouting for more sci-fi, but maybe we can't deal with sci-fi and mental health today. So together with me, I've got Sonia Boussou. Hello, Sonia.
Everyone.
She's an associate professor in public policy in the University of Birmingham. And I have Marina. Hola, Marina. Sociologist, doctor. You should know about health in public policy from the Autonomous University of Barcelona. Hi.
Hi.
And my last guest is David Canat, a longtime friend, who conducts research from a more practitioner activist point of view. He's also involved in local politics. We may be not talking about that today. But we'd like to speak with also David on what we call the ACT framework, and what he will maybe tell us what we can learn from therapies around addiction when we, think about designing digital commons for collective well-being. I'd also like to mention a guest who can't join us. Nevertheless, I did use his contributions to come up with some questions for you. And I guess some of them should be unresolved. So Thomas Allen is a British sociologist and social worker who has been exploring the idea of grief, which is beyond even or part of the mental health, and mourning as a commons. And I had a number of conversations with him in the past 2 years. So because we share an intuition, and this is the intuition I want to share with you, that affect, love, and reintegration into life and community are important elements of commoning. After this very long introduction, I'd like you to intervene. So I don't have right now, anyone can drop the mic and answer. So how can we understand well-being, but specifically mental health, as a collective concern rather than an individual issue? And what does community play in this shift? And you can mention projects you may have been involved with. So we'll basically go in a nice order, and you can jump over a question and say, that one.
Okay, I'm happy to kick off. I think one of the issues with mental health is that it has long been medicalized and really perceived as an individual weakness. It has been for centuries hidden, right? There's been shame even about talking mental health. But it's actually a societal issue, and it is often a reaction to structural problems, discrimination, oppression. And so I think there is now increasing awareness that there should be societal responsibility right? Of how we understand mental health as a common good, but also how we accept and engage with mental illness as a societal responsibility. And recently, you and I have been involved, and Marina as well has also joined in the latest iteration of this project on youth mental health. And it was really interesting because we brought together a group of very diverse young people. So the intersectional lens was a crucial perspective, because very often the way mental health services in European context certainly respond to mental health is based on expectation of um, white, secular, even background, while often these young people come from different religious and cultural background, where mental health is more or less accepted. So, so it was really interesting to gain their perspective. But I think that the thing they appreciated the most is getting together in a safe space and recognizing a collective struggle that went beyond their individual weaknesses to instead recognize the structural context, and how collective action was actually a response to their personal struggles as well. So it was quite interesting, and we're still exploring these dynamics as the group grows and develops.
Talking about exploring further, Marina, as you now we're trying to, let's say, export or replicate the experience that was Manchester-based in Barcelona, and Marina is trying to help us, including we had contacts with the Catalan public service, youth public services. Maybe you may add to the issue of mental health as a commoning potentially.
Yes, yes. I was just thinking when Sonia was explaining, so maybe I cannot add so much, but so I study commons, but mainly like urban commons. So I was thinking on that we define commons as a group of citizens that self-organize to manage a material or immaterial, and we say urban resource, but we can apply this definition to other immaterial issues, right? And one of them could be mental health as well. And I think it would be useful to explore mental health as commons, because first we can emphasize the collective dimension that, as Sonia has said, it has been treated as an individual issue. And there are so much to talk about collective mental health, because it's influenced by social conditions, by the context. And also we have some nice experience that talk about or treat mental health as a community issue. So we have the collective dimension. Also, if we take the critical perspectives on commons, we could say that also mental health as commons can be some way to explore alternative ways of managing mental health, then finally, also commons have been also used, especially since the economic crisis in 2008. It has also been used as a struggle to defend or claim basic services or welfare services, which I think that attending or assisting mental health can also be included in the welfare or services or health services that has been being dismantled during the economic crisis. So I would say that commons have been used in the struggle for the public services, but also claiming a more participatory approach to the health services or public health services or health community services. So I think that commons definitely can help to build new forms of studying or approaching to mental health.
So David, how can reimagining mental health as a shared commons expand the conversation to include collective well-being and emotional resilience?
I'd like to answer this question, elaborating a bit on what you just said, with the relationship between public services, public goods, and the commons. Because we see a lot of development of commons in areas where public services are collapsing, or at least losing some of their efficiency. And you also mentioned the participatory approach, and so none of us here has a medical background, but mental health, especially if we broaden it to well-being, stepping away from a pathological medical perspective, has really mobilized a lot of peer support. It is very well known that some of the best help that can be provided actually comes from the people around, people who experience mental difficulties. And again, making it clear that some conditions require medical attention. A lot of the mental health and well-being issues are actually societal issues, and societal issues mean that we are, as individuals, members of society, also altogether in charge of protecting this common. So seeing mental health and well-being as a common is actually a necessity to make sure that mental illness is reduced to a minimum, and that we can handle the other the other parts of the care that is needed, in just making sure we all feel in a safe space. And I think this could be my transition towards talking about mental health as a common to mental health in commons, mental health within the community of people who contribute to commons. It is absolutely necessary that commons remain or become safe spaces. I don't know if you want me to.
We get there further. Let's first introduce the digital layer of all this. So I'll get back now to Sonia. Sonia, how can digital commons, such as platforms like Decidim, contribute to co-create affective and inclusive spaces for emotional and mental health support?
I feel a bit like an imposter here because I'm not an expert in digital participation.
Nobody's experts. That's why
you were brought in as the guide in this digital space that complemented other in-person space by using arts-based methods and participatory research and creative methods. But I felt that how we approach digital participation on the sitting with the young people, enabling them to shape the platform, the participatory space together, was actually quite enlightening for us and for them. And I think it was an opportunity to share this experience beyond the local community, the geographical and the proximity. And so now this has become an opportunity to build alliances with other young people across Europe. And so Platonique has been also supporting a school of democracy that was very much focused on mental health, where young people led, facilitated, and participated in these webinars and bringing together other youth issues around housing, climate change, and reflecting together on how that affect their mental health. And it was a space that they had ownership of, and that could help connect experiences in Barcelona, Manchester, and other European cities, recognizing the universality of the same issues, and so enabling alliances, to build alliances and spaces of solidarity online. But then I think the young people that we worked with always recognize that the digital space supports this conversation, but they actually really really appreciated and enjoyed the physical connection. And I think particularly because a lot of these young people went through their formative years during the pandemic, and COVID really exacerbated mental health. It became a global crisis for young people. And so, yeah, I think the digital commons are a sort of network, global, like they sort of support a global network, but it has to be based on the sort of the physical participation across the different localities. Yeah, I don't know if that answers your questions. I'm still exploring the digital commons.
There's anyway a risk of building a digital safe space. I'd like also to see the other side of the coin, being very conscious of we could be even create more harm than healing. I'd like to think about preventing harm in digital commons. So digital commons platforms can sometimes lead to harmful experiences, or commons digital projects such as Wikipedia, looking at it from the community perspective. So we see exclusion, harassment in this digital common space as we see them in any public spaces. So how can these platforms, and maybe you can, the three of you can contribute, but we had this exercise during our retreat where we tried to respond to the answer. How can these platforms evolve to address these challenges and foster more safety, inclusivity, and resilience amongst communities? Maybe you want to share, David, some of the insights.
How could we make sure these virtual or physical spaces, it doesn't really, the question remains the same. How do we make sure they are emotional safe spaces, right? Well, my background, my activity is to work on governances, on how people decide together how they want to work together. And of course, most healthy people want to collaborate in an environment that answers their needs, and even further actually makes their lives better, and where they can find motivation. When that does not happen, we have a lot of significant issues, including for the common good they are working on. There's a lot of disengagement. The most fundamental part is to make sure that, first of all, people are working together for the same reasons. They don't need to have the same objectives, but they need to have a core of values and ways of collaborating that are consistent. In terms of my personal work, and again, it's just a testimony. I find the work of Elinor Ostrom on core design principles. So I'll just give a very brief overview. She realized that in a lot of commons around the world and at different moments in time, the commons that were successful were the ones that had some common criteria, and she identified 8 criteria. I won't go into details, but these core design principles actually really enable us, if we address them, to make sure that everybody is doing okay. For example, one is to make sure that there are conflict resolution mechanisms. Another one is to make sure that people can have a say in decisions. Another one is that there are gradual sanctions for behaviors that are misaligned with agreed upon behaviors. All these preconditions definitely help build a safe space.
It's kind of a risk assessment table there. And so, but when this happen, how can you operationalize these, or visibilize these violations of the code of conduct of the commons, right? Especially in the online space, maybe Marina.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something that I think is related to both contribution. And I was thinking that in current societies, we have the possibility to belong to different communities, so that we have like a identity. So I think that digital tools or digital commons can offer the possibility to belong a community where you can talk about some issues or feel a part of a community in a safe space. So I think that that digital tools offer this possibility.
I'd like to come back a little bit to this idea of intersectionality, which is not easy to explain in a podcast, but specifically related to the Mindset Revolution project again. Sonia, I can participatory methods such as legislative theater, which seems to be the most effective in that case, empower the youth especially to take leadership roles in addressing challenges related to mental health and affect. But as we have seen in Mindset Revolution, working out with this subject, now we have a cohort of facilitators that come from the mental health environment, but then surely could potentially facilitate any deliberative assemblies on other subjects, such as climate anxiety, which is more related to mental health, but why not other types of public participatory policy-making needs? So what's your take on specifically legislative fear in that case?
It's really interesting. I think there is more attention in the participatory deliberative world towards-based methods. And I think, like all methods, I don't believe in panaceas, right? All methods have got challenges, but also offer new opportunities. I'd really like this concept of participatory ecology, where we create different spaces of participation that can also embrace this complexity of intersectional identities, right? And but I think legislative theatre is a really interesting space, and the idea is that very often when we talk about public issues, even in participatory spaces, the discourse is framed by experts really, or by research, or by deliberative designers, and this is an opportunity to really center the experience of the participants and visualize it, represent it in a very immediate way that give priority to feelings. And I think by sharing feelings and what it is, the conditions of being human, it's easier to build a shared language. right? So when the young people invite a community, an audience of community members, but also policymakers that are confronted with what the world looks like from their perspective. And in this case, it was about navigating the mental health system, which is incredibly frustrating and dismissive, and they feel silenced. And I think that representation and bringing the audience in legislative theatre, the audience and steps into the scenes, right? So they become spectators, and so this create different levels of connection, right? But it can also be very taxing emotionally. So I think what worked in Mindset Revolution is that there were spaces for continuous reflection on what was happening and the experiences. There were moments of deflation, but there was also space for reflect together on what that meant. And very often the policymakers might not respond in a way that the young people were expecting. And so that created conflict, and it's a process. And I think one of the things that is important in participation is that it cannot be seen as an event. It has to be a process, because time is crucial to build trust, and trust is crucial to make these places work and sustainable. And I think the young people working in this group over several months trusted each other, right? So because of that, they became more confident, and bit by bit, they took more and more ownership. And I think that is the arts, play, playfulness, games also challenge hierarchies that are there, right? Because even if they were paid, they were co-designing with us, we were the adults in the team. So that there are all power is always there, visible or invisible. But I think play, fun, games helped to sort of challenge certain relationships, and then trust. Time is crucial, and very often we don't have enough time to be together, to connect and to build trust. But
Even that podcast runs out of time. So
yeah, exactly.
probably we'll have to have
exactly.
another
I got too excited. Yeah.
No, that's fine. We'll have to have another podcast on times as a commons, inequalities around the use of time.
Yeah.
And there's something happening.
Absolutely.
But maybe taking up the last question before we go to public questions. So you have a bit of pressure on the public. So you should come up with some very clever questions. Let's. I think that the magic of the legislative theater, apart from the fact that it's built by the most affected, which, as you may know, deliberative professionals, or at least the European Commission, when they organize citizen assembly, would believe this is not part of the Bible of how you should do institutional deliberation, because you should just hear the whole representation of the society. In that case, what Mindset Revolution does and what we defending is the public agenda should be designed by the most affected and then offered to the rest of the society to decide and find consensus on, even before we tackle the expert knowledge, right? So I would like in the magic moment, just like us, we have a big light here, and in legislative theater, I feel that the participatory, I mean, the policymakers are under the spotlight, and they can't really escape. And this is the moment of evaluating, do you have in-house a policy that can be modified to respond to the needs that you asked to deploy? So I think that's kind of magic. So regarding about like how to engage these policymakers in a way we can track them and chase them in a positive way. Maybe it's also for Marina, but you can respond. So what practical steps can commons movements take to influence policymaking? You mentioned that, and specifically, how can we ensure that when we engage with political institutions aligned or aligns with the commons values of fairness, inclusivity, and gives accountability to this process. So we want to see some results. So it's not about like participation washing process. So how can we ensure that there's a long-term engagement in policy change while we create this momentum where the policymakers can't escape?
Yeah. So I would say that among the commons, I think we should differentiate and also listen to their will. So maybe there are commons that they don't want to have any kind of a relationship to the public administration, policymakers, local state, but some others might have the interest on only maybe on receiving some economic support to develop, and then maybe other commons want to establish a dialogue, not only receiving economic support, but to participate in influencing policymaking, co-designing. Then I would just go to what Sonia said. So we have to build trust environments to co-create, to co-design, and also to have the trust and safe spaces where we can build shared meanings, and where the contribution of the commons members are listened to, and situated knowledge is recognized. So I think it's also a process that wants time, but that it's definitely an opportunity if some factors are taken into account, like a safe space, trust environment, in which we can innovate, recognize situating knowledge or practical knowledge. We can to start new processes, even democratizing the process of policy making and the services.
In fact, we're conscious that policymakers also need their safe space and be trained to participate in legislative theater. So it's a long-term process. It's not happening. But so let's be fair. We know that we need to have a safe space for them too. David, you want to build up on this? No, you don't have to. We'd have questions in the public anyway, but I have to take your mic, so that's why I'm asking.
No, I'll happily.
So one question in the public. We have actually 2 questions. We start 3 questions. Oh my God. Can you introduce yourself very, very briefly? And then the questions.
Yeah, I'm Frédéric Sultan. I'm part of the group Remix of Commons, a Francophone group of activists and people working on or developing the culture of commons. My question is about when we consider wealth, mental wealth as commons. I think it's very interesting, and it's opening the idea that the commons are not only resources but also practices and social practices, and perhaps and oriented in this and usually oriented in the well-being, something that is well-being together, or taking care of the well-being together. I think we should probably focus on more on commoning in this way than just to take into account the commons as resource that we are managing. And even if we can consider wealth being as something we will manage, but it's not only managing, it's also what we are doing by commoning. And when we are doing commoning, we are practicing. It's also about behavior. It's not only about economic behavior, I will say. My question is about what do you learn in this way, working with the technology, about if this practice create or not an ethos for the people that are participating in this practice together, and how the technological or the digital dimension participates to sort of what we can perhaps call an ethos of people part of the community, by this practice, not just because they are citizen or they are consumer, but becoming commoners in this by doing that. So I think it's perhaps it's we know that technology is not by nature creating this situation, and I think we know that it's not only good. So we are facing this. What do you learn something, or do you have something to share on this? If my question could be clear.
I think technology is never neutral, right? And it depends on who uses it and for what. For me, the elephant.
Yeah, we had the censorship here. Batteries are off for some reason.
Capitalism.
Yeah, it's automatically like it's a municipal building, you know.
Yes, exactly. It's a trigger word, censored.
Let's try capitalism. Can you hear me? Yeah, yeah.
Shall I start from the beginning then, or?
So nothing happened. Do you want to take that question?
Yes, I'd like to take the question. So I think technology is never neutral. Depends on how you use it, who uses it, what for. And I think for me, capitalism is the elephant in the room, because at the moment, most of the public sphere exists on commercial platforms, and we don't have any accountability, public governance over how the algorithms work. We know that effectively polarization is engineered. So obviously that it cannot be a space that is conducive to a diverse and enriching public sphere. It just creates a lot of bubbles, right? Where we start seeing the world through completely different lenses. So we just stop understanding each other. In the CDM, obviously, it was a completely different space, because the young people were completely in charge of designing it with support from the Platonic team. And they owned it. But then the problem is as well that you create these new spaces where everyone is already on commercial platform, and there is a sort of fatigue, right, of new digital spaces, new digital platforms. So we like this could be potentially a great space to build the commons, but it's very difficult to bring people in, right? Because they're already on other platforms, and young people were like, oh, like, you know, like there was the group that was in charge of designing the space, but everyone else, there's a bit of a struggle to involve them, right? Like you witnessed it.
We did another podcast for that, and more self-critical experiences about the fact that the CDM is an institutional tool we try to bring to communities, and of course it's text-based. It's, you know, we're basically filling the box for the policymakers to receive insights from the citizen in the language, or, you know, they like. So when we do a legislative theater, we have an issue on how can we flip this idea of, you know, we work with art-based methods, but, you know, we still need the technification of the policy we want. Otherwise, that won't reach the policymaker. Even if we send them the postcards and the fanzines, the youth groups would come up with, we still have an issue of using these digital platforms, which are commons but are designed the wrong way and can create more harm than we expect. So we take another questions in the room, and then we'll. No, who's in there? Yeah. No. Can you also say your name and your organization?
I'm Natasha Holst. Yeah. I'm from Schumacher Center for New Economics, and my question is actually maybe a little bit different, and it has to do with, well, like you said, the elephant in the room is capitalism. But this also means that commoners themselves have a very hard time within capitalism trying to sustain commons, and because, yeah, they're not, it doesn't fit within this economic paradigm that we have at the moment, and has obvious consequences for people's mental health and burnout, and yeah, to continue along these lines. We've seen now in Amsterdam, where I'm from, that there is a commons program. It's often misunderstood also by the left, as there is becoming more and more interest in this as another way next to neoliberal policy making. But still, I find that from the left, there is a very clear idea about the role of government as being very paternal, public, everything needs to be public. So how do we bridge this more commons paradigm and make it possible for commons to exist within this neoliberal framework, and at the same time try and get the left-wing politicians who would be our main allies in this to also fund public commons partnerships?
But you don't have a mic anymore, so get the mic, grab the mic. Even if we're in a digital common space, we need to reclaim our.
First off, I'm aware of the fact that we've really left the original topic, and it's absolutely fine. So one of the ways, the possible explorations to find an answer to your question, how do we fund commons, if I get it, support, but make it viable, is to possibly, as I've already discussed with a few of you during these past days, is to see what type of resources could be privatized, what type of resources could be public goods and services, and what types of resources could actually might not be any of those, and they would be commons that belong to no one. And since we use these commons, why not think of paying a fee to these commons for using them? For example, I know you and I are interested in community land trusts. If we consider that land is a common, we're not going to sell and buy land. We're just going to pay a rent to the land for building a house on it, or for having agriculture on it. And all this money that we would pay to the commons could actually fund and make it possible to take care of the commons. It's just a possibility, and really I apologize because we're really far from the original.
No worries, no worries. But since yes, with the mic, the condition is you get the medium.
Yes. Okay. Very interesting question. I'll try to be very briefly and explain myself clearly. But I would say that public common partnerships or some kind of for the commons to develop, it's a way also from the state to recognize the capacity of collective organization. And as a society, we want to care about this collective organization capacity and these collective actors that take care or that maintain the commons. Of course, there are some challenges because there's also some risk of just transferring some services or resources, public resources to communities can be a way of dismantling the welfare state, right? But also there are other ways like transferring this provision of services or the capacity to organize or with the enough support from the state. So it doesn't mean that we just neglect this, but we care about this and we build with the community. And then you can decide whether this community have the capacity to just to self-organize, or maybe they need some support and we can co-design, co-management. So there are some ways to do it, but also some risks too, because not all the communities have the same capacity to organize. So inequalities affect also the capacity to organize. So there are some risks that I think that have to be taken into account.
And there are some inequalities in common space anyway. So, Sonia, do you want to
Very
close up?
briefly, and I'm going to perhaps take a different perspective on this question.
Don't say capitalism, otherwise the mic doesn't work.
I think the problem is that we don't have the imagination as a global community, right, for alternatives to neoliberalism, and the left has embraced neoliberalism as much as the right. We all live within the parameters of the neoliberal political economy, the 3% inflation and whatever, like these are arbitrary numbers, but economic models are now perceived as natural laws, which is an absurdity, right? And these are political choices. And so I think what the commons are doing, and yes, they're still marginal, the same way cooperatives, have been existed for a long, long time, but they were never able to provide a sort of an alternative system to the market. But what's happening is that they through their prefigurative politics and through their practice as well, they create space for imagining different modes of governance. So for me, that's crucial. And I think that's where arts, and in previous podcasts we were talking about sci-fi economics. There's like new things like Afrofuturism that reimagines a future centering Black power, right? And like all this, like space for imagination. That's how you build what Gramsci called counter-hegemony as well, right? And so I think that's a crucial role that the commons can play. That's like sort of a war of position for the long term, but yes, I think it's crucial though.
Thanks a lot. So it's time to wrap up.
Yeah.
So we take some lessons home, at least for myself. So we should always be conscious about the fact that digital commons also should have policies to prevent arms inside of them. We should basically take all these insights to design emotionally supportive platforms. That means ensuring there are spaces for collective empowerment and healing. We mentioned that the commoners also needs a specific mental health program, and it needs to be participatory. And we should also consider affect and trauma in online communities. How can we draw from participatory governance models in digital commons to better manage affect and trauma, creating environments that encourage mutual support and eventually growth. Thank you very much.